out. But we've got one more match for you guys today. It's going to be BloodTrail versus Ryvius for our final match. Only 5 today, but I believe you've got 6 in another region, so there's still going to be tons of Hearthstone coming up for you for the whole next, I don't know, 10 hours, 15 hours or so, depending on how many Warriors are going to be played in Americas.
Well, I mean, you say that. It may be 10 to 15 hours in Asia Pacific, because I think we just got confirmation that the first matchup we're going to see between these two players,
let's get comfortable.
It's a Warrior mirror, old-fashioned, no aggro, control on control we've got going on here. Both have Elysiana. It's, yeah, I don't know what to say. This is Hearthstone.
Yes, you've got to take the glass half full aspect of after this one game, both players cannot play Warrior again. So, you know, one of them can, and that's the extreme of it after game 1. And
also, sorry.
I thought you were going to say, no, but if.
No,
I'm pretty sure that's how the format works, Darren.
I just wanted to add in, like, you know, I'm being a bit negative about the Warrior mirrors. They have actually been some pretty interesting games so far in this season of Grandmasters. I know that I got flack with Admirable for being too down on them because he loves them dearly. And I think somewhere around the middle is the appropriate place where most players should be, where there are a lot of decisions. You know, they're very, very long matchups. And I think the inclusion of Frightened Flunky on Megadillos and 2 Wardens make it a little bit more interesting, because you have these consistent, strong tempo plays you can throw down, which allow you to try and seize the game aggressively.
Yeah, and I think we're obviously being a bit silly when we complain about Warrior. We're kind of just jumping on with everyone else, basically. But honestly, for me, the only thing that really bothers me about the mirror is if Elysiana ends up being a deciding factor.
Yeah.
For me, it's just a shame that often in the case, a lot of the previous decisions of the players kind of can go out the window a little bit. If both players or everyone made an agreement to not bring Elysiana in their Warrior decks, I'd be all right with it. Like, it's actually pretty cool. So we'll see what happens. BloodTrail and Ryvius going to be going at it for the last match of the day. And as I said, the rest of the lineup is, I think it's fairly standard. BloodTrail does have a 1 spicy deck, I would say, in Zoolander. Hopefully he gets to play that, because it's not banned. His Druid is banned out. And then Ryvius, I think one of the first times when Ryvius is bringing a fairly standard lineup as well. His Bomb Hunter's banned, which, although isn't standard in the lineup, it's not a new crazy deck or anything. It's Bomb Hunter, and he's bringing the Quest Shaman, which again is another different build from the other builds we've seen today represented. So interesting matchups overall. I kind of want to just see this Zoolander to see how it goes out. It runs History Buff, which is a card I actually quite like.
Do you want to explain the name Zoolander, just for anyone who's
okay, sorry. So Highlander,
with it?
Highlander is what we call decks with single cards in, no duplicate copies, because there's a film probably before most people, you guys were born, that's called Highlander. Anyway,
there's
that, and there's another film which
also probably before most of you were born.
Yes, which I actually absolutely love, called Zoolander.
Yes,
and it's a zoo deck Highlander. There you go, done. It's genius levels of wordplay.
Can you give us Blue Steel?
Not on demand.
Oh,
no.
Damn it.
I'll do when I decide. I've done it many times before, but never on demand. That's the first tip of business. Never just before. Anyway, let's go into game number 1. Warrior on Warrior. Although it is a good point that you talked about yesterday, I think, is Ryvius playing these Wrench Calibers is a little bit different.
I forgot about that. Yeah, this is interesting. This is the first time I have ever seen Wrench Calibers without the bomb package of, at minimum, the Clockwork Goblins and Blastmaster Boom.
Right.
Obviously, you have the opportunity to slot in Augmented Elix or Sephorium Bombers as you see fit, depending on the metagame. But yeah, I am surprised to see this, to say the least, because my first instinct was when he's playing Wrench Caliber without any of the payoff is, why not play Fiery War Axe? It's the same stats of weapon, but for a mana cost less. Which I guess is maybe a little bit simplistic of a view, because the benefit of bombs is not just Blastmaster Boom. The benefit of bombs is the bombs. You shuffle them into your opponent's deck and they do a lot of damage. Well, and 23 damage, I'd say, is probably worth a mana.
Yes. And again, when you talk a lot about in this mirror, getting chip damage is pretty important. Yeah. And this is not only a reasonably flexible weapon, it's also kind of chip damage, just you don't get to choose when it happens. And by chip, I mean like it's chunk damage, I would say, once it gets to 5. Chunky, I would be proud. It's Is Derek gone? How I snapped him?
Yeah. Like, I knew it was coming, but it's still funny when
you know something's good when you're completely ready for it and you still crack up.
Yeah.
But anyway, the Mummy being drawn for Ryvius is looking pretty good. Even though it doesn't actually die, so you can't get the double rush. That's sometimes a good thing.
Yeah,
It doesn't die. Like,
yeah.
seems good.
I think there was obviously merit to go for the Omega Devastator instead of like stacking minions. You know, Ziliax would have been pretty annoying though up against that, and just an opposing Restless Mummy would also not have been nice.
Even to be fair, just the snap onto that on the minion is a little bit annoying, just because it's like more armor stacking and more work you've got to get through later on.
And also, a Mega Devastator gets way better later on as well. It's if they're evenly as good now, then just save the Devastator.
No tune can hold me.
This does mean that BloodTrail's going to slightly get ahead of the way this trade will work now. What's left on the board, but I don't think Ryvius is too upset here. He can drop this Frightened Flunky, which I think was always the plan before an Armageddon. 2 Warden, fantastic value. And hopefully, for Ryvius, he draws into another taunt before he plays the Armageddon. Where do you stand on when to play this minion?
The Armageddon. I mean, I think I've been in line with most players because for the most part, as far as I can remember, it's been played pretty aggressively, just down as soon as you can, because you usually have 1 or 2 taunt minions in hand. I think the more interesting part is not when you play the Armageddon, it's when you play taunt minions when Armageddon is not yet in your hand. Okay. Because a lot of players were, I thought at least, holding on very reservedly or conservatively to their Tomb Wardens, their Ziliax, their Frightened Flunkies to try and get the biggest buff out of Armageddon possible. And I think that is an aspect I kind of disagreed with, because I think by playing them out more aggressively, freeing up hand space has been one of the most important aspects of the Warrior Mirrors. Because time and time again, we've seen players hold onto their cards, removal, minions, whatever it is, they just stockpile them, and then a Mega Assembly is not playable. Dr. Boom, when it comes down, you don't have room to go for discovery with the delivery drone. And so I think generally I like being fairly aggressive with your cards, whether it's the taunts or the Armageddon.
Okay, well let's see how it pans out on what side of the fence Ryvius and BloodTrail sit on, as they are both running that package.
No tune can hold me.
And Armageddon is a card I actually really like. I didn't think much of it when it was announced. I feel like I always feel that way with Warrior Legendaries. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just turned off Warrior a little bit. But I saw Armageddon, I was like, okay. And then I got to play with it and was like, oh, this card's actually pretty, not only powerful, but just kind of a cool idea. You have to consider what's in your hand. Yeah. You have to consider what taunts to run in your deck. You have to consider, as you said, when you play those taunts and so on. Like, it's just a cool card, I think.
I agree. Still annoys me though. What does the laser beam do? It doesn't make sense. Why does it zap the cards in your hand?
What now?
What do you mean is how it travels?
Well, the beam hits the thing and then the Armageddon jumps onto it, right?
What? It's got like a laser beam on its back.
Right.
And
it's a teleportation beam.
But it makes things bigger. Like, it zaps the cards in your hand.
Yeah, because it's enlarged beam.
It's an enlarging beam.
Yeah,
Alright, my mistake.
It has a dial. He just teleports it onto the board.
Oh yeah, you got it set. You got it set for M for mini when you want it set to W for wombo, of course.
Yeah, exactly. You get it. I'm glad you're listening.
I finally understand.
Wow. You can clear these off reasonably easily. Cost him the Ziliax though. Ooh. Okay.
Wow, this is an aggressive use of the draw.
Again, though, it gets out of his hand, doesn't it?
Right, and this is something I have criticized players for, is being too conservative with their removal cards, whereas Ryvius here, his hand is chock full of stuff. And so he thinks, okay, if I'm going to put these minions, these stats onto the board, I don't want to do that and then use draw afterwards. I want to use draw right now. I haven't committed any stuff, and then afterwards, minion. He just keeps developing onto the board, and I don't think BloodTrail's going to be able to keep up.
And honestly, even like shield slam, swing, play summit, whatever.
Yeah.
Now my question again is, when does Armageddon come down? Is Shield Slam Swing Armageddon just fine? I mean, is this enough value? I think so.
I thought it was time. I thought it was time on turn 6.
You hit a Tomb Warden and a Ziliax. You know what? Those are the boxes I'll tick if I play this card. I'm gonna go for the snip snap instead. So he's gonna coin. Again, this does free up some space in hand. It frees up 2 slots.
Yeah,
So.
that is true.
And I guess it gets out, it makes a weird board to deal with, and also doesn't overcommit too much. It's just a snip. It's one
That's
snip
true.
snap is a bit of a scary board, actually.
Yeah, that's a good point. And you don't want to play one big minion into turn 10 when they obviously have their Mega Devastators able to come online.
Again! Imagine a third
Another
2-1.
taunt. Mortuary Machine is the new 5-mana 8/8 from Saviors of Uldum that is obviously incredibly statted for the 5 mana cost, but has the downside of saying whenever your opponent plays a minion, you give it Reborn, which there's some cards I would not like to give Reborn to.
Put it this way.
To my opponent.
Fel Reaver used to discard 5 cards every time it attacked.
I think it was 3.
3 cards, sorry.
Yes.
I would rather discard maybe 5 cards than have Reborn
Not
for
even
my
close.
opponents.
Yeah, I'd discard like 10 before I'd give a Ziliax Reborn.
And okay, question. What's worse, that or Generous Mummy? Because I think it's close, actually.
It's actually quite close. Yeah, that's interesting. Because they're both, I would say, relative to their mana cost, equally overstatted.
Right.
Especially given that Generous Mummy has Reborn as well. Interesting question.
Because the funny thing is, on one hand, Generous Mummy has Reborn, so it sticks around so it can do more damage. Its effect sticks around longer,
Yeah.
so it's still even.
I mean, it's both bad. It's like kids ask you, like, would you rather have your head chopped off or your leg chopped off?
It's like,
Neither. Yeah. Obviously, you weirdo. Who are you, hypothetical child?
No.
The nice play of Dr. Boom while you have Snip Snap in play, obviously giving all the rush to all the microbots afterwards. You can already feel the difference, though, even in this matchup where 9-mana Dr. Boom is still the best card in your deck. Not being able to use the delivery drone here, it's a pretty big blow
I
to
mean,
Ryvius' game plan. That hurts.
It's a big deal. And also, it's less likely that there's a nice board to boom into. I think I'm not saying it's terrible now, but it's just nice. It's just less likely there's a nice board for it.
Whoa, this game is close now. This is very, very close. Both players have hands chock full of stuff. The problem is for BloodTrail, though, that even though he's got a comparable amount of minions to Ryvius, they're not good. Dynamatic is a 5-mana 3/4 for the vast majority of the game. Mortuary Machine, big downsides. Ryvius here is being so defensive as well, so conservative with his resources, which has obvious benefits when your opponent has a hand literally full of cards and hasn't played Brawl yet. But at the same time, you don't want to give your opponent all the time in the world to find those cards.
Mortuary Machine, Shield Slam. And I mean on the Mortuary Machine.
Just to clear hand space.
Well, he's got to do something, and I don't think he can play it.
I don't think you can play it. Like,
Imagine-
last card.
wait,
Mortuary Machine is
Does
last
Does
card.
Tomb Warden get reborn on each minion? It must do, right? Because it works like a Saronite, so it holds plays. Is that what it?
The
I
Battle
don't-
Cry activates first. Like, it's the same as with Snipe, right? Like, if Snipe summoned
maybe,
a damaged
yeah.
copy, then I think it would probably only be the first one.
Got a Megadillo with reborn.
Yeah, that would be nuts. I mean, Ziliax with Reborn is
Yeah.
the dream.
Light the fuses!
BloodTrail is finding uses for these Dynamatics, though,
Ooh,
as pitiful
nice.
as they may be.
Mortuary Machine.
And if you give it Reborn twice, it cancels. I don't know if you knew that. That is not true.
I was gonna say.
Strictly a lie.
I mean,
I don't think it gets double Reborn, though. You
No.
have Reborn.
Reborn is
Yes.
a thing, and you still have reborn.
Yeah. It's not like Death Rattles, which you can
It's like
stack.
it's like charge. You don't
Yes,
get
you don't
charged
get double
twice.
charge.
You just can't charge. I'm surprised it wasn't just Snap Clockwork, because it needs to play something to empty his hand. I was gonna go for Warpath. Such a low impact Warpath.
Very low impact with a Plague in hand. Like, I can understand why you wouldn't want to go for that, but the impact of a Tomb Warden over a Combo Goblin is just so much bigger. I think I like the 2.
There's another minion you could play this turn. Right?
But it was just traded in. I think we figured because the thing is, in this matchup, even though I think it is definitely about fighting tempo, or at least for having the last big threat later on, everything is killed off just by hero powers alone for the most part. So I think it's less about tempoing out things early, it's about having the most amount of stuff turn after turn. And Ryvius has a very high amount of said stuff.
Yep. And I think Ryvius is just basically saying, I think I'm ahead.
Yeah.
I'm going to wait until you pull the trigger before I do. And if you do it first, I win.
Pretty much. And I'd say that's not a ridiculous conclusion to come to. The wrench calibers, I think, give him a pretty good edge in the matchup just for the extra damage that they afford him later
An
on.
extra just weapon. A weapon's just a flexible thing. Multiple times, like, you know, he's killed the Tomb Wardens off with the help of the wrench caliber. Boom, there's 5 damage, so the armor's lower.
So
the health
interesting to see
differentiation
this.
is higher.
In Ryvius just clearly saying, I want to save all my threats until right at the end of the game.
This place is scary. Imagine if Ryvius is going so far to say, actually, I'm going to release Iana into more taunts and then play our Megadillo, and then you'll be sorry.
Perhaps. The way he's playing, wouldn't be too surprised.
What do you think? He's going to pick. Is he going to release Iana or our Megadillo first?
I'll make it first. I'd be very surprised if the Elysian comes down first. But
I'm ready to be surprised.
I've been
Darren.
surprised before, exactly.
Imagine saying that in a serious circumstance. Like, well, I have been surprised before in my life, so it could happen again.
This would be a good time
Well,
for a man
nice
to
talking
play.
to you. Honestly, my conversational skills do not far surpass that. But I've been
It does make me
surprised
laugh.
before.
Like, you've told me before, you're quite like awkward sometimes,
Yeah.
and it's weird for a caster whose job it is to talk to thousands of people at the same time to say he thinks he's awkward talking to people.
It's different. It's different.
It's not the same.
I would rather talk to 10,000 people online than one person that I meet on the street, and I would take that any day of the week.
Oh, really?
I live in dread of seeing someone I know on the street. Small talk with someone I know? How am I doing? I don't know!
Light the music.
This is too much.
Exactly. I'm suiting up!
And then they're like, oh yeah.
Sorry,
okay.
what?
I'm stood on the other side of the street going, ah, okay, I get it now.
Starting to click. Yeah, you may have noticed as well that we are now nattering about other nonsense, practicing my conversation skills.
Exactly. I'm actually secretly making
been
Derek,
training me the whole
making
time.
Derek confident.
The ultimate socialite I will be by the end. And yeah, we are talking about a load of nonsense because for these players, it is just trading removal, trading rushing mechs, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah, unfortunately, we mentioned at the start of this game where honestly, the game 9 times out of 10 does kind of start when the players run out of cards. And unfortunately, whether you like that or not, that is just true.
Yeah, I mean, kind of.
I'm saying, okay,
like-
the biggest impactful parts of the game happen
Yes,
at the end.
Or at least the flashiest bits, or the most obvious decisions happen in the end. Whereas I would say, early game, it's all setting up, it's preparing. How do you want your hand to look at the end? Whereas, you know, Ryvius' hand could be unrecognizably different at this point. We could have seen Devastator on 6, on Megadillo on, Devastator on 4, on Megadillo on 6, Tomb Warden on 8. He could have just tempoed out his entire hand.
It almost feels close to like a deck building game, right? Like
Kind of,
you have
yeah.
to end the game with
Kind
the
of.
right deck, and by deck I mean hand.
It's kind of,
And if yours is more powerful than your opponent's, honestly, you probably win.
it's honestly kind of bizarre how close it is.
Yeah, because you're getting rid of cards you don't want, and you're going to end up with just the perfect 10 cards to win the game.
Okay, then.
Derek now suddenly decides he likes the matchup now. if you look at it through this lens, as
I
a
do love
deck-building
games.
player
Yeah,
himself.
exactly. Well, I mean, in that instance, you'd be able to scrap cards from your deck, at which point Dr. Boom would have gone like that
I love
from
that
the game.
fuse thing.
This is a reasonable committal. to get rid of this Armageddon.
Yeah.
Here's a question I don't know, and I really should, so I apologize to everyone. Do you see if the Armageddon has or has not buffed cards in your opponent's hand? I don't
Yeah, I had
think
this
you
conversation.
do.
I don't.
Because hand buffs normally glitter, and I know they don't glitter, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know if you see it or don't. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I've got to be honest. I'm not actually. Because that can be fairly important. I mean, I think at this point you can be fairly sure that something is being buffed, or they wouldn't play it.
Right. But
at
also,
the same time,
BloodTrail's hand was full.
Yeah, and he's played a lot of his taunts.
Yeah, and he had to play something, and he discovered it and played it. It's just interesting, that's all.
I mean, this entire game, although it's slow in how it presents itself, it is still interesting. BloodTrail here, the fact that he's just been tempoing out his hand turn after turn after turn, and is still behind, very, very arguably, in terms of resources, in terms of health. It does just mean that Ryvius is left somehow with such a ridiculous advantage at this point when he starts tempoing out his threats.
And I feel like the actual wrench caliber did a long way towards that.
Big time. Whereas now it's Armageddon time. I guess just to dump the card from that hand. Because he's a
He don't want to
10
play anything
cards.
else, does he?
Yeah. But he almost seems begrudging to even play it.
Oh, I think if he had -1 card in hand,
Yeah.
he wouldn't have played it.
So interesting.
Oh my lord. Just play one BloodTrail. I think it's meant to be.
The game's trying to tell you something. This is the spirit of Zephyrus coming through. And I think there is, honestly speaking, the Devastator is the first thing you look at and the best card. But Vicious Scrap Hound has its merits for specifically the combo of magnetizing Ziliax on top of it to instantly gain effectively 10 health.
Wait, does Mortuary say when a minion
Is
is
played or something?
played or
I
something?
think
I love that fuse thing.
Oh, after
yeah,
a minion.
plays a minion.
Oh,
This would be
that's a
good
shame.
time for a
I wanted
master
one day,
plan.
like next expansion, there's a minion that death rattles deal damage to yourself. So your opponent plays it, you play that, and then just keep killing it over and over again. That's sick. Just making it as if Hearthstone was a different game, you could do this really cool turn. No, Harrison, not really the card that Ryvius is after.
Yeah, he does kind of want to dump space with his hand, but it would be ridiculous to see Harrison Wrench caliber Shield Slab, but I guess he wants to take advantage of it while he
Oh,
can,
yeah.
which this does pretty beautifully.
What you even do? There's a 5/4 Ziliax with Reborn on the board.
Well,
I mean, this
he
is
can
a good
shred through
answer.
it really easily with the hero power as well. So it's not really-
Oh, yeah, you know what? The hero power is actually perfect.
It's more just like macro game. What is BloodTrail? Because like it feels like Ryvius is still in the lead. Perfection. But it's not by that much.
Well, I guess what's relevant for both players is BloodTrail and Ryvius do not gain health from these Ziliax, which does come into play sometimes in the mid to late game. But I think that's also helped by the fact that neither of them really did anything in the early game, so there was no early damage, and they were both pretty free to gain armor.
There's the Tomb Warden that Ryvius was waiting for, hyper-greeding his Armageddon. And, you know, maybe I was wrong in my assessment about how you play it out. This super greedy approach that he's going for is interesting, and it feels like it's worked out for him pretty well so far, given that he has 2 buffed and 1 non-buffed Tomb Warden in hand.
I think he needs to start playing things, though.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I think, like, Tomb Warden Slam is fine, because you're going to think in, like, 2 to 3
That's what I'm
turns,
looking
he'll want to play an Elysiana.
Yeah.
And then...
What does he save the Shield Slam then? Because that's the only thing he can play with the Elysiana.
But you've got to think with what BloodTrail's got left. He's going to have to start removing this, and if he's removing, he's not got that many more minions to play. Like, both his Tomb Wardens are gone.
Wow. He's still holding on. It's so interesting, man. I guess it's partially the fact that there's the removal from BloodTrail, which Ryvius wants to make useless, like, for the longest point, or also just to set up for the safest Elysiana possible. Whereas BloodTrail, on the other hand, has a completely different school of thought. This is an Armadillo for literally 0 buff, which I think the animation didn't actually happen there.
Right.
Which answers the question.
And what's funny to me is I feel like I need to go over. I feel like this is a very good game to watch if you want to learn matchup.
Yeah, or different approaches.
Because all I see is Ryvius has really good cards, and BloodTrail does not.
Yes.
I'm not quite sure how that happened, if I'm honest.
It's small stuff. It's very, very small stuff. It's like, for example, the Brawl that came out incredibly early from Ryvius just to kill off a couple of big minions.
And like I said, I kind of want to just watch this game again a couple of times, just to really just see at what points things happen. I mean, this is still a decent representation of a push from BloodTrail. The Snip Snap obviously not bad at all, but just every card Ryvius has is insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. Like, you can. The only thing Ryvius has to worry about is once he plays Elysiana, if in a world where BloodTrail lives, right, and doesn't instantly like lose Slayer, does Ryvius have time to play all these cards before he dies to fatigue? I think that's literally the one problem.
Yeah.
The one weird problem with this style is, do you have even enough time to play all these cards? If you don't, should you have played them? I don't know. I don't know.
And I think what this game really does speak to, in addition to your point, is just the thing I've been trying to highlight very nicely over the course of all these Warrior Mirrors, which is that BloodTrail, by tempoing out his resources, his minions have been removed by removal. BloodTrail has been able to use Shield Slam, Plague of Wrath, Brawl, Warpath, Hero Powers to clear them off turn after turn. Ryvius, by not tempoing out any minions, means that BloodTrail has not been able to use his removal cards, so he is going to be left purely with removal options later on in the game. Ideally for BloodTrail, that means that his removal options will stack into Ryvius' minions later on.
But also, Ryvius' minions are better than BloodTrail's.
Exactly, they're bigger, yeah.
And by forcing your opponent to not play removal, it means you are almost always playing minions in an inefficient way.
Yeah.
Because you have to play something.
Look at this Brawl just used to a bunch of one-ones, because again, Ryvius does not want to play minions into opposing minions. He wants to use his removal to clear them off, then follow up.
Oh! Yay. 2 Armadillos each. I know which one I'd rather be.
Oh man, these Tomb Wardens are going to be hench.
Well, it's 7-12.
I guess so.
Well, they will be 7-12, should I say?
Yeah.
That belongs in a museum.
BloodTrail just scurrying to get any kind of a board presence at all wrestled together. Holds off on the Omega Assembly despite the fact that he could have played it there and not overdrawn a card. Which is kind of interesting.
Get more taunts from Omega Assembly.
Nope, doesn't find any there. But
two
honestly,
out of 3 are fantastic.
Not bad minions. Yeah, even the underpowered, unpowered Steam.
And he can.
Unpowered Mauler.
Is he not playing the Clockwork Goblin? Wants to play it post Elysiana, I guess.
I suppose so. Yeah, that makes sense actually. We don't give him the chance to overrule it. Although,
but maybe playing
likely
Elysiana is good this turn.
There's only a 1 out of 3 that would be the last one.
I'm almost out of cards.
I mean, Elysiana is not bad here just because of the fact that it's a time to play it. Whereas, yeah, you know, BloodTrail playing it as the first card this turn. Could have played it last time.
No tomb can hold me.
Probably wouldn't have made a difference, but
I honestly don't know if I like not playing Elysiana this turn. Unless that last card is insane. I honestly don't know what the last card is, I'm sorry, but...
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point you bring up, because I think that for BloodTrail, when you could trade the Harrison and the weapon into the Armadillo and play Elysiana, is he ever likely to face a less scary board than that from here on?
Than a 2-4 that probably can't attack. Right. And look at it.
This is the one downside of Ryvius' line of play, is that by playing on the back foot deliberately and having removal to all these pieces that are coming down from BloodTrail, it does mean he struggles to find the time to play Elysiana exactly when he wants to.
This is it.
But this is still perfectly good. Yeah, hero power as well. Tick, tick, tick.
So now, the build-up, the preparation, the war plans have been made. And I think right now we get to the point where we see, well, who's is going to pay off.
Right.
Because both players have took completely different routes to this game. And let's see what happens. BloodTrail going to land the Elysiana first. And let's see what happens. Geddon, do you just take Geddon because it's a big dude?
I guess. Oh, 2 more.
Okay.
That feels pretty good to me. Wait.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Heavy Metal or Eccentric Scribe? These are all decent options.
Morale,
Nothing
not
insane.
terrible. Commanding Shout,
I wonder if you ever
not
take
terrible.
Commanding Shout just to cycle through your deck quicker, because the other two are
Do you want
incredibly
to
low
cycle
value.
through your deck quicker?
Kind of. I guess he
Volterra?
already has a full hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we could get a mouse over at that just to confirm all the cards, that'd be fantastic. But that honestly seemed like not all too bad of a set of options.
Heavy Metal, 2 Modern. Yeah, he took the improved morale in the
Yeah.
Volterra. I like that.
That makes sense.
Lackeys are pretty sweet. It's even more value.
I think if he had an empty hand, we'd be looking more heavily at the draw options. But given that he has, you know, a decent hand already and 2 shield blocks, if he needs to cycle through, this seems good to me. Like, there is some merit to go for the draw options if you want a more aggressive style of play after Elysiana. But man, Ryvius here, even though he can't get his Elysiana down this turn, is just, oh man, it feels like it's such a
He just plays a minion that positively trades the Elysiana, and it's attached to a 7, and there's another 7 on board. Like,
insane. And it looks like this could be the first decent brawl opportunity for BloodTrail the whole game.
he's getting okay.
Oh no, he could just go Devastator, Hero Power, Treasure Trade.
Oh, yeah. Problem with BloodTrail.
Honestly, there was some thinking to go for the one there while it's good.
Yeah, the problem with BloodTrail is I feel like, honestly, none of his Elysiana picks were mind-blowing. None of them really made me think that BloodTrail is going to win this game, if I'm completely honest. Looks like it could be a cheeky Elysiana turn. Nope.
Rushing Mechanical Whelp is not that bad at all. And in all honesty, I think holding off on the Elysiana here is not that bad.
I guess it
Just because
it buys you the higher fatigue turns, right?
well, you start getting fatigue, but you enter post-card fatigue later, so it equals out about the same. Like, you're not drawing cards immediately, which is the downside. You have to wait longer before you're getting them.
But all I mean is, like, say you go 1 fatigue, 2 fatigue, 3 fatigue, up to 5.
Yeah.
Then you play Elysiana.
Right, then it
where
stops.
you don't take 6, 7, and 8
Exactly.
for a while. And
Exactly.
normally, your opponent starts taking 6,
That's
7,
what
and
I
8.
mean.
So, yeah. Okay.
Still holding off on it, though, and taking, you know, a reasonable amount of damage in the meanwhile. It's a little bit scary here.
I think you got 1 more turn in it.
Yeah, I think this is perfectly fine, especially with this armor game from the Attorney Road.
Honestly, I said it yesterday, but I feel like if you just stick a Beryllium against on any semi-decent minion in Warrior, you know, something that has an effect, gain armor, make taunts, it's insane. Like, I just don't know how it realistically dies.
I really like as well from Ryvius just deliberately killing off the Microbot there. It does nothing, just means that this is more likely to survive the brawl, which, if Ryvius does win this here, would have been insane.
Volterra, more discover options. Take the mystery choice.
Do you ever take Warpath? Warpath isn't bad. That's better.
Yeah. Well,
Fair enough.
It's always the mystery choice. Always the mystery choice.
Even when it's wrong, it's right.
Oh yeah. I just need to know.
All right, this seems like absolutely
Yeah.
the perfect Elysiana turn now with Ryvius.
Okay. Fester
Fester
Hulk. I think that's
Yeah.
perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, I'll agree
Oh,
with that.
Bone Wraith.
I like Bone Wraith.
Oh, boom, and he's got Wrench Caliber.
Oh, that's-
oh,
and the
Tomb
Tomb
Warden.
Warden.
Look at Ryvius'
You're
smoke
happy
face.
with that. You are
Look
happy
at his
with
smoke.
that.
Yes, Ryvius, we know you just did the sickest Elysiana, and BloodTrail's about to find out.
Dynamatic in the middle instead of Bone Wraith. That makes sense, right? Dynamatic is a very strong card.
I guess because you'd imagine that the Elysiana minions on average aren't going to be
Yeah.
Vex.
That's not that bad, though, as a 10 drop.
Ah, it's got rushing 7 pens. Who cares?
It's not good enough to clear the board here, or even fight the board. That is a nice little roadblock at the
Yeah,
very least.
Safeguard's annoying more than
Yeah.
anything. That sums that minion up quite well, just annoying, which I think is what it was meant to be.
Say the magic word. I mean, I'm definitely looking first glance at Tomb Warden just rushing in, killing off the big bad Arc Mage. Because I really want to fit in that hero power. I think that's paramount on this turn for Ryvius. Wow, okay.
Just gonna leave the Archmage up.
Well, it allows him to rush in the 7/7 as well, so we can clear it off this turn.
Oh, he's gonna trade this way, sure.
Yeah. But oh, this misses Blast Shield. Blast Shield's so good. I always want it.
Last year, he's got 7/7.
Like, was
That
it
made little sense.
important to save Tomb Warden? What exactly is he saving it for? To not be weak to Brawl?
Maybe to take down something scarier. He doesn't know what BloodTrail's got.
Fair.
BloodTrail could have,
Fair.
you know, 2 cans
That is
or
his
like
trump
2
card.
Tyrions or something, you know, crazy.
Yeah.
So the massive Tomb Wardens might just be enough. But most importantly, you might just want to just get this boom online.
Weapon being destroyed now does mean the Blastmaster boom does have to come down sooner rather than later if you want to guarantee the 2 boom bots.
Definitely good with that though. Hero power boom now.
I like that.
Oh, it's so sick.
Wow, who is that handsome devil?
I will internally regret this.
What does he say? Oh, because it's
Who's
his
that
boom.
handsome
Yeah.
devil?
Yeah. I like the trades as well, not using the weapon. Just have 2 7 attacks on the board.
2 extra life, less likely to die to Brawl. I agree completely.
Textbook. And you know what the problem here is? Dimensional Ripper outside of... Well, what can even rip? Geddons?
Geddons, yeah.
Like that...
Is Tomb Warden was one of the options, right?
Did he? I don't think BloodTrail got 2 more. I thought it was Ryvius.
BloodTrail. Yeah, maybe not. I thought he did.
Maybe he did.
Because that one
I'm
in his
so
hand
confused
is
right now.
to the right of Dimensional Ripper. Right?
Oh, you're right.
Unless that
right,
came off of hero power.
No, you're right, I think. But it only summons a 3/6, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's not that good.
It's a shame.
It's just a 10 mana 2 The expected but still necessary outcome, I would say, for BloodTrail there, as
Mystery
Brawl is
card.
often. You take Mystery Choice over Brawl?
Oh, yeah.
It's always correct even when it's not. Sorry, I forgot.
I did just tell you that.
Delivery
Oh.
drone into... Oh, is it ever Security Rover over Boom Reaver? What's even left that's good for the Boom Reaver? Like, again...
Fester Root Hawk.
Fester Root or the... probably just about there, but I like my Security Rover. That's very strong.
And he can double trade now. He can use that. Yeah. Well, he's going to use the weapon there.
I guess that on average gets him 0.5 more damage, but loses him 2 health. So I don't mind going for the chance that he's able to take it out first. Apart from the terrible case scenario, 1 out of 8 times where it's 1 damage on the
Yeah.
turn. So maybe it's more complicated than that.
Clockwork or a Tomb Warden. Looks like a Tomb Warden to me. The only problem is right now is it's just about BloodTrail killing Dr. Boom. So you just can't let a 7/7 hit him.
Yeah, it gets pretty messy if he starts doing it. So he just puts up the defensive wall. And Ryvius has, should he desire, the
Big
larger
boys.
wardens to take them out.
Boom Wardens.
Nice.
I'd just do it because it would annoy my opponent, I think. Oh, nice Tomb Wardens. Oh, that's not a Tomb Warden. This is a Tomb Warden.
Sub Tomb Warden, it's me, Tomb Warden from high school. Remember me?
And that, oh wait, you can get thingy. If only you
What's
discovered
thingy?
well, what's the card called? If you've got 7/7s on the board, it deals 7.
Oh yeah.
That'd be sick.
Astral, yeah.
Astromancer? Astrologermancer? 7, dude.
I mean, Ryvius is gonna win big with this board, 7/7. It's exactly what you want to see.
This would be a good time for a master.
I just don't know what BloodTrail's got now. Like, obviously, he doesn't know the Elysianas from Ryvius, of course. But we do. And I don't like those 2 shield blocks are just dead in his hand. The Ripper's not gonna.
It's not Ripper.
Yeah.
It looks like he's going all in on this final brawl.
This Goblin Lackey's like, are you sure you want me to do this,
It's
boss?
still fine taking 2 of them out. And if the Goblin could survive, would have been very, very strong. But now, BloodTrail has to tank some damage.
I think he just goes to Boom Reaver.
And
oh yeah, you don't.
Ryvius should
skip
turn up
the
the heat.
power.
Yeah, you take this one, you discover 2 Morden, I guess, maybe Clockwork Goblin, but yeah, probably just 2 Morden. You've seen 2 brawls and a brawl off of a Valkyria Scoundrel. This is where you turn up. This is what Ryvius has been waiting for.
No one's guarding the 2 anymore because
Exactly.
all of the Wardens are here.
He's just saying, me and the boys, ready to pillage the tomb.
Suddenly improved morale is needed to aim himself at BloodTrail at this point because he mustn't be feeling too great, although Mega Devastator is a nice pickup.
Yeah.
Improved morale, Lackey, Brawl.
That's the lucky you're looking for.
Boom shit!
Shit.
Oh,
Is that good? Really, right? Oh no, wait, Sweeping Strikes on the Omega Devastator allows him to clear the board. Because he can rush in with it. Yeah, okay, it didn't matter which one he targeted because he has to swing.
and
Which means another board clear. He's still in the game.
Ryvius just bashes the button on his mech and zaps the 4-2 and it's like next.
But you know, BloodTrail has some strong options as well.
Oh.
Dimensional Ripper is still
I'm going to
very
be
strong.
seeing Tomb Wardens in my sleep. Honestly, what is that, like 10 we've seen this game or
It
something?
feels like the old combo priest mirrors where it would just be operative, operative, operative,
Yeah, yeah,
operative,
yeah.
operative. I think I played like 13 in one game.
That's it. I'm out of cards.
Speak of the devil and he shall appear. More wardens.
The work's night out, innit? Everyone's just being silly.
It feels like they should make an equivalent card of bees, but call it wardens. And he just summons 4 of them and just smash in.
Put 2 on either side of the board and they just hit each other. That's it. Yeah, why not? Great.
2 value trades. Perfect.
I'd like
What's
to
funny about that?
order in 2 value trade minutes, please. Oh, thank you.
And now BloodTrail, he is out of cards. He needs to make a miracle happen to fight back against this onslaught from BloodTrail because the Dimensional Ripper, while it may have been good, not anymore. Heavy Metal may have been good, not anymore. They both do nothing.
No, not for long. He's got the hero power.
That's a 7 drop, okay.
2 value trade minions, please. Just another Dimensional Ripper.
Probably Dynamatic Festeroot Hulk this turn though, right? Like that's such a nice trade on the Dynamatic.
What about Festeroot Hulk? Dynamite.
Despair. Destruction.
Could if you wanted to.
As Sol would say, illegal play.
Finally getting down to it now. BloodTrail realizing all of his hardcore effort may have been for naught.
And it's got to be mentally crushing to play a game this long.
I'm almost out of cards.
I mean, it's mentally crushing to cast a game this long.
We definitely lose out
Yeah.
here.
Oh, the 2 Hulks ready to come in. What is this? Avengers Endgame? Am I right?
Spoilers.
You've seen it now, all right?
Yeah. I won't say my opinions on that because most people don't agree.
Yeah, I know.
Another portrait. Just pick it, BloodTrail. for what the kids call
All right.
the lulls.
Okay,
Be a
then.
lad. Come on, BloodTrail. Do it for the boys.
It's got Rush. Like, that helps.
It's true.
If it had Rush, I still think it would be a good
Still
minion.
be garbage.
Give it charge. It's the only way it'll be good.
Consider it like jam there.
Yeah. Even turn 10 to 8 charge.
Right. The board is pretty much cleared. BloodTrail is in a good position. But Ryvius, again, looks like he'll be able to very easily sweep up everything.
Warding up everything.
Yeah, wardies. Nice and easy here. And BloodTrail now has nothing. Even if he goes double shield block, you take more damage.
He has a
Heat
concede
gain.
button,
He does have a concede.
which I think has to be relevant.
He needs the Wisp to carry him to victory
There
off of
we
heavy
go.
metal. And finally, what looked like it was on the cards for quite a while, Ryvius does manage to take the victory. And interestingly enough, it was somewhat in opposite to what I often find in Warrior Mirrors, where the end is the most important part. At that point, it was everything leading up to it. It was
Right.
so in such stark contrast between the two players. Ryvius, conservative, holding everything back, not playing any of his cards. Like, the Armageddillo stayed until he absolutely had to play it.
Yeah, it was almost felt forced, right?
Exactly, but on the other side, BloodTrail throwing things onto the board, just playing incredibly quickly for tempo, which may have worked out for him if the answers hadn't been there for Ryvius. But as soon as he found Dr. Boom, it was pretty clear that there was no amount of minions that was going to overcome all that removal. And so in the end, I think Ryvius takes a well-deserved victory.
Yep, I don't know about you guys, but I'm exhausted after that game. That was a long one. Ryvius, well-deserved win, but take a well-deserved break, guys. We'll be back in a minute to continue the series.
Welcome, recruits. I'm Alec Dawson, and today I'm here to teach you what it takes to be part of the League of Explorers. We need all the help we can get, because it's time to save Old Doom. First things first. Being an explorer can be dangerous. The League of Evil has already stolen Dalaran, but now they're unleashing plagues in Old Doom, and they keep shuffling bombs into our decks. Luckily, Old Doom is stocked with ancient treasures that may give us a chance. We've already sent some of our best explorers to retrieve these powerful artifacts, but we need you to go out into the field too. Here's your quest: raid the Sky Temple. That may seem like a lot of spells, but you'll get there faster than you think. Once we complete our quest, we'll get the hero power Ascendant Scroll, which adds a mage spell to our hand and reduces the cost by 2. Ascendant Scroll allows us to load up on cheap spells or cards like Archmage and Tinnitus. Because if there's a way to defeat evil, it's fireballs to the face. Make no mistake though, the League of Evil has been leveling up too. Evil was powerful in Dalaran, but now they discovered something even more nefarious: teamwork. Here's Weaponized Wasp, one of Hagatha's new secret weapons. The laser on its head, courtesy of Blastmaster Boo. Weaponized Wasp plays well in aggressive lackey decks that look to take forward control early. In Saviors of Old Doom, expect to see lackey build-arounds in Shaman and Warlock. But don't worry, we also have a secret weapon. Bees! No, really, one of our junior explorers found a bee-controlling device deep in Kartut's tomb. It took us a few days to decipher the instructions, but it's quite the powerful tool. Here they come now, it's bees! A new druid spell. This efficient removal spell excels in token-based druid decks. Need some extra pains for Knife Juggler? Bees! Need some extra bodies for Soul of the Forest? Bees! Need anything at all? Bees! All right, that's all we have for today, Explorer. We've got one more training session to go before you'll be ready for the dangers of the desert. So sit tight, and I'll see you out there in Saviors of Old Doom.
We hope you enjoyed that break there after that grueling warrior mirror between BloodTrail and Ryvius. And we've got a different matchup for you guys. It is going to be the warrior again from BloodTrail, but it's going to be the shaman from Ryvius, which is going to be, for me, a more interesting matchup here. I think shaman gets demolished by aggro, which we saw in the series a little bit earlier today. But it has a much better matchup versus warrior when you can plan out your damage and your win condition a little bit easier and execute it a lot easier, because it's one of the decks where you have less pressure on you as the shaman, which means that you don't have to proc your quest as quickly as you normally feel like you have to, at least in my experience.
Yes, that's definitely true, which allows you to be nice and greedy with a lot of your cards. You know, you're looking to get as many activations of cards like Life Drinker played, I would say. Be very greedy with Barista Lynch and maybe bouncing her back to the hand with Bog Slosher as well, can be incredibly powerful, because the way that this matchup, that this deck in Quest Shaman often plays against a lot of the mid-range, or to some extent aggro decks as well, is to cheat out expensive cards for less mana with Mutate, where you're going for Mogu Flesh Shaper and then upgrading it, or Former Champ and then upgrading it. That's still a strong thing you can do against Warrior, but it's usually not your win condition, because they have so much removal.
That's what they want you to do, basically.
Exactly, yeah, they can kill it off fairly consistently in the mid-game. Whereas the real way that you're going to be dominating against the Warrior, I think at least, is by generating these crazy amounts of value, and so you are pressuring at all points of the game, with no exception, because you have so much value to keep on chugging along. And
a lot of it as well is damage that your opponent can't do anything about. You can't stop a shaman back playing a Life Drinker, then bouncing it for 6 damage and then 6 damage again. They're getting heals. It's very frustrating. The problem I found is doing the quest in a time I feel happy with when I've drawn the minions I want to save for later. It really gets a little bit weird. Like, for example, look at this Wasp. If Ryvius plays a Wasp, it procs the quest, great. But he's used a Wasp because he won't probably be able to bounce it, and then it almost certainly gets removed. So you just have to have, I think, a little bit of experience in and as to when you can actually use the right tools at the right time, and that's going to help or combine with the Warrior's ability to pressure or not. And I am pretty shocked there wasn't an Armadillo. I love buffing an Armadillo with another Armadillo.
Really? Yeah. I think the Tomb Warden was definitely.
I think it's just funny, wasn't it?
It is funny. Yeah, 2 Dillos just sitting there zapping each other.
Yeah. Armadillo high fives. I would like the Lackey here, actually.
Which one?
The Witchy. Because you get a 3-drop, which can contest this 2/2 on average. It might be a Taunt, which guards the totem. And if you don't do it, well, that totem's 100% dead. So I'd rather take a chance. That was a horrible outcome. Oh, imagine on the champ.
What? That's like the worst thing he could get.
I knew he should have used the other line.
What?
Any of these outcomes is horrible. Any of the outcomes. That was the... Yeah, okay, that was actually one of the best. It's one of the best.
Probably the best one he could get. It's still bad, because it means he can't get through this Frightened Flunky. But if Barista had come down there, that was just like game over. Yeah.
He can get through it pretty easily.
Well, he can't use the the zap to get rid of it, which would have been very nice. Yes, he can still get rid of it.
What to do?
This is where the you have to prioritize which battle cries you want to save, because I would
say
Ethereal Lackey is a very nice one to save until post-quest, because it's super cheap but super high value. And you know, if he can find cards like Stormbringer maybe, or Rain of Toads, high value cards like that would be in a good spot.
But you know, funnily enough, what's weird is Lackey's like +2 and push attack. You know, the Goblin Lackey. So you know, they're all good, and it's just hard to make the decisions. That's what I find most difficult about this deck, when to use what.
Yeah.
But now, this looks like a slightly less difficult decision of Lackey into second Wasp.
Goblin, I assume.
Yeah, Goblin the 3/3, push it for 4.
Yeah, I'm like.
And then Wasp and trade the 2/2.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
But again, you've got to think like Goblin Lackey damage kind of sticks around, but both Wasps are gone. Yeah. So in terms of raw damage, you only have Life Drinkers.
Really limited,
and then is that enough? I don't know, but I'd feel a little bit bad about it if I was Ryvius.
I think I like Ryvius being a little bit greedy here with the Ethereal Lackey. His hand is still kind of limited. And I like what this sets up as well, because if he was at 5 mana next turn, and you know, the overload, he was at 4 mana instead of overloaded for 4, then I wouldn't hate the Ethereal Lackey because it sets up for Barista to copy it back. Whereas this way, next turn, he can still go Ethereal Lackey, then Barista if these stick around. All of a sudden, he's adding 4 cards back to his hand.
That is like a game-winning play. If these minions get cleared, he's in trouble, I think. Right now, there is just the former champ, but former champ's nothing to Warrior, and especially without the bow. I respect the brawl, actually. Because if Barista comes down, you are in
So
major trouble.
Yeah, that
major trouble.
Horrendous.
I think he... Ooh, interesting.
What do you think of Champ then?
Yeah.
Former Champ next turn with a hero power is pretty good though, right?
Yeah.
You've just seen a brawl. I think it's sufficiently difficult to get rid of.
So now my question, and I do not know the answer, but my question is, what is Ryvius' plan to win this game? Because that former champ is the only one he has in the deck. Obviously, there is a Shudderwalk, right?
Yeah, big time.
He's lost 2 Wasps, and
Like a butterfly.
I'm going to say a Life Drinker, because you imagine this to be cleared. Mainly because of how good, say, Warpath can be against this board. Yeah, there you go. He's traded his Life Drinker, so Life Drinker's gone. He has the Battle Cries from Shudderwalk, but the Wasps are random. And also, there needs to be a Lackey on board when you play Shudderwalk for the Wasps to go off.
I mean, I'm in agreement with you. I think this is looking very rough.
Well, I mean, that's a good pickup. But yeah, I just don't know how he wins.
We could get a very strong Barista Lich this turn. Like, we could end up with him generating 6 spells altogether with the Lackey here, Barista it back to hand for 2 of them, and then hero power for 2 more of them later turns.
That
which
mutate is
huge value.
Clutch.
Yeah, that's huge. That's very, very nice.
Because now we can Barista into mutate.
Oh, yes.
You
mean it's mutate the one?
Yes, yeah. But you'd Barista first because you want the battle cry. You want the champ back, right?
Okay, well, this is kind of the plan I think that Ryvius has been setting up for a while. This kind of turn is exactly what he needed, because if we now start looking at Shudderwalk specifically, if you add Discover 3 spells to the Battle Cry pool, that's when things start to get very interesting.
And I guess my worry, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Ryvius can't win, but my worry was like the former champ had to live, a 1-1 had to live versus Warrior for it to be that good, right? Because otherwise the turn wouldn't have been that good.
Yes.
And it's like, that just seems unlikely. But now, Ryvius is in a great spot.
Yeah.
The double Barista effect is nuts.
I really like the BloodTrail killed it off as well, just to play around the potential for the one Bog Slosher to bounce it back to the hand, which would have been filthy. But now, you know, Ryvius is getting in a decent amount of chip damage here. Lovely Lightning Storm there, great pick off the Lackey. And it does mean that he can consistently put down these threats, and as long as he's not pushed out of the game based purely on tempo, I think he's in a decent spot.
Yeah, I agree. These big boys are going to be hard to take down, but there is the some more spells.
And another mutate for the Geeling event is pretty nuts as well. Nothing.
Or for the former champ, depending on what you're after.
Yep.
Earthquake.
Earthquake,
And I like
very
Scheme.
nice.
Personally.
I'm tempted by Scheme. Like, if it was looking similarly, if he was in a similar situation to what he was a couple of turns ago, Scheme would have seemed insane because you just clear up the board. Whereas here, I think Ryvius has been prioritizing developing minions and getting ahead on board, and therefore doesn't want too many symmetrical board clear effects.
Right.
Like, if he falls behind on board, he has Earthquake to swing things back.
I guess for me, is it really worse than a Frost Shock from this game plan? Like,
I don't know.
yeah, it's just, I don't know. I just felt like the Frost Shot wasn't that impactful, and Hagatha's Scheme is a thing where if BloodTrail clears the board and then puts on a bit of a board of himself, you've just got that 1 or 2 removal options that are just ultimate, basically.
Weird trades really starting to take out one of them completely. I guess because he thought he was setting up for Earthquake, but he had minions in.
No, he just didn't want them to potentially get more value trades versus the 5 piece, right?
You have no idea what I'm capable of.
Oh, if you could bounce. Oh no, wait, that says
It's other classes.
Other classes,
Yeah.
not non-rogue classes. Damn. That'd be sick if it was shaman cards included.
I'm pretty sure it says other
I'm
classes.
pretty sure it does as well. Yeah. I was just excited for a second. And this is the thing I was saying that Ryvius needs to make sure he has the ability to do consistently, which is to make sure he has always the ability to put forward a board, just put something threatening on the table, which for this turn and next turn probably as well he will have. But the fact that his deck is just not very greedy overall does mean he is going to struggle to do that later on.
Yeah. It's tough, isn't it?
Oh, I love that music.
And if you've not seen this deck before, it doesn't run Hagatha. So,
Right.
yeah, either Hagatha actually, it doesn't run the hero,
Yeah.
the hero card specifically,
Which is surprising.
or it doesn't run the Hagatha that discovers you an insane card,
Yeah.
because people deem it too slow. And I said the deck struggles versus aggro, but the problem is, if it's for me, I don't generally know how people win without just like randomly doing busted stuff. Because if the deck struggles for me versus aggro, and it's not exactly Stomping Warrior, I don't grasp it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, it's very arguable that Ryvius doesn't have the build of the deck here. Like,
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was, but I saw someone just tweeting out that, you know, they're camping top 100 at the moment with a greedier version of the
Right.
deck, which they thought would get stomped by Rogue, but they haven't seen it. So they're just relying on the fact that it can consistently beat Warrior. And, you know, to be fair, Ryvius hasn't lost this game yet.
no, definitely not. I just don't see a direct path to the victory.
Yeah, it doesn't look easy.
I guess.
He's still got Shadow Walk, which is the main thing.
He has. What do Shaman spells do, though? Because I feel as long as BloodTrail doesn't mess up and play all his AoE, Shudderwock comes down, makes a million 5/5s, BloodTrail clears them, then the game ends. That's how I foresee the game playing out. I could easily be wrong, but that's just my personal experience of how I play this matchup.
We'll have to wait and see. There are obviously some Shaman spells that are very, very strong, and if he's lucky enough to get them, it could be in for an interesting game.
See, like, for example, I love that card in the deck, but generally it doesn't do much versus Warrior. It's not what you want, is it? Well, I think Earthquake's a great card, although it does, funnily enough, make me feel a little bit sick. I don't know if I've told you this. I was talking about it on stream the other week. Yeah.
The animation.
The animation, so I was streaming, like day 1 or day 2 maybe, of the expansion. I was playing Earthquake, and it got to the point where when I played it or it was played against me, I had to look away from the screen. Honestly, I think it's like, I don't know, motion sickness or something. It's weird.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm not even making it up to be like kind of funny. I'm being deadly serious. It's weird. I even spoke to Celestian about it. Earthquake animations.
I've seen some things.
I really wish I had. So, Haunted Visions is a good one.
Yeah, it is one of the better ones. Rain of Toads is one of the better ones. Hex, I guess, is one of the better ones. I was looking at the Earthen Might, because that seemed like a nice way to generate some extra value. There's quite a few decent Battle Cry elementals. Ryvius, even with just one Cable Rat, is able to generate such absurd amounts of value. This deck, it does just continue to impress me with what it can do. Okay. A little bit of audible, I guess, there from Ryvius.
Uncontrollable order.
Yeah.
Sounds like some kind of thing you have to go to the doctor for.
No tomb can hold
What's the
me.
problem?
I think Twitch chat has that.
I've been diagnosed with uncontrollable orderlul.
No tomb can hold me.
I just look at BloodTrail's hand compared to Ryvius's, and even though Ryvius's hand happens twice, kind of, I'd still rather have BloodTrail's hand.
Yeah, I mean, when you factor in the rush as well, like all of these mechs just become strong, honestly, like very, very strong.
Okay, then.
And I think the problem is that the shuttle walk that comes down can generate, obviously, a powerful tool. Hopefully there won't be too many like Annoyatrons coming in, but the former champ 5/5 that come through are very strong. But I think all the value that it generates outside of that, like the lackeys and spells and stuff, it's good, but I'm not certain it will be good enough. Because like you said, I think the spells are just not really strong enough to represent League.
Yeah, it's no power of creation, is it?
Yeah.
You know, it's no Conjurer's Calling. No, those are the kinds of spells you really want to be generating. But again, like, 2 5/5s against Warrior. Cool. You know, that's often what I feel like when I'm playing against some of the more controlled style decks, specifically Warrior. It's just like, you just make 2 flat 5/5s. Warrior excels at killing things like that. With cards like that?
Yeah. Dynamatic and Security River are both just
Whatever.
pretty
Pick one,
insane here, yeah. I think the Dynamatic, like however good you think Dynamatic is, it's actually better than that. The amount of removal it can afford you with Rush as well is staggering.
And then the problem is, you know, Admirable was tweeting this morning for us, last night for him, I guess. He tweeted some Shaman cards, right? Of Earthquake, Hagatha's Scheme, and then tweeted King Pharos and Shudderwock.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's a plan I can get behind, because that makes, like...
The thing I thought was really cool was that you can play the Arcane Dynamo, which discovers an expensive spell, and then Shudderwock might do that before the King Pharos itself, so it would boost itself up.
Yeah, and like, that is what I see as like an actual win condition, right?
Yeah.
That's how I win the game, and then you work out how you get there consistently. Whereas this, I feel like it does loads of cool stuff, but I never really know how you win. By doing just like more, it's just
I mean, it just keeps doing stuff. It's
Yeah.
like, you know, it's a marathon, not a sprint with this deck.
But I guess it just, maybe I'm giving it not enough credit, and it just happens to fall over because Warrior can also keep doing stuff, and its stuff is more powerful.
Very true.
Maybe it's literally this one matchup I'm feeling worse about.
And I think the second that Ryvius blinks, I suppose if you could call it, and doesn't develop a big board, is when the game could just irreparably fall away from him.
Right.
Because he has to keep doing powerful stuff every single turn, or BloodTrail goes Beryllium Nullifier and the board is just irreparably lost.
I hope you like my invention.
And one of the funny problems now is, although Shudderwock's a very powerful card,
Yeah.
Ryvius is going to kill himself, one with Overdraw.
Of course it's the
He's
right
going
way.
to
Yeah, he needs to
make
start dumping cards.
potentially Annoyatrons instead of 5/5s.
He's only summoning 2 Annoyatrons, right?
But that's already nearly half the
Yeah,
board
yeah,
space
yeah.
with Shudderwock,
True.
right? You know, there's like a weird evolve things that can mess you up as well. There's a lot of stuff that can happen. Shudderwock is nowhere near the win condition of old Shudderwock days where the whole deck was actually winning with
For
Shudderwock.
sure. It's a very, very different card now.
It's just an insane value card, I feel.
And it does look like it is starting to slow down now. You know, this is still development onto the board, but this is just like stats in play, right? This isn't broken quest
And
hero
not
power
even great
stuff.
stats either.
Yeah, exactly. This is clearable with just Warpath to wipe up everything.
and this is
3
where
Warpaths and a Dynamatic.
And this
Oh, no,
is
that's
where,
not
although it obviously also doesn't always lend you to this ability, which
Yeah.
is my worry, is that the way I only thought up a beat Warrior was to just keep bouncing and playing Life Drinkers.
Yeah.
Like literally play Life Drinker like 6 times or 7 to 8 times, and then have the I'm losing the card name. the weaponized wasps as well to play aggressively and like hit 6 with a wasp, hit 6 with a wasp, and then bounce life drink as much as possible whilst doing double battle cry, and then hope you just kill them with Shudderwalk. Honestly, that's the only thing I could think of. Oh my!
Alarmabot finally finding his destiny here with High Priest Amit.
What? Does he bog slosh?
He could bounce that back and get an even bigger one.
Boggers.
Or he could just do this, which is also pretty nuts. Like, okay, this doesn't survive.
Shudderwalk gets 1 extra health.
Maybe, yeah. Okay, that was exciting. That was maybe something that could have got there. Something else that is exciting is Hecklemore.
7 health. Order lol.
That was an order lol.
It wasn't right, because if he pulled Shudderwalk, he wants to kill it with the
Order lol.
Okay, Twitch chat.
I'm sticking to my guns here.
Engaging TC-130. Mental
So I guess he bog slosh replays.
I mean, this looks like this game is coming down to final card Shudderwalk. Is it good enough?
Hard no. Your opponent has Brawl. It's like you lose.
When your opponent has 62 health points.
And 18 million cards. You have 1 Shudderwalky boy.
And you are absolutely about to have your time lost.
What a warrior mirror does to Mr. Dark Brown.
There we go. Not quite the last card.
Let's go.
It should have been sacrificed.
No, you want to
I
target.
guess,
Yeah, you want to target.
Okay, fair enough.
Guaranteed target.
I just was wondering about board space, but yeah, this seems good. That's not what you want to bounce
Cool.
back.
That summons itself on deck in case anyone. And his hand is being filled up with, I'll be generous and say mediocre cards.
Yeah, I mean, he's just out of hand space already.
Yeah, and he's going to start drawing and turn himself as well. And this is... I feel like it might be a symptom of this specific matchup. But, like...
Is that it?
Yes, this is what I've been telling you!
I mean, that was good, but it's,
No, not
that,
even
that would
close.
win any normal game against a tempo deck, but against...
But surely a tempo deck's game has already been decided
exactly,
by that point,
exactly,
right?
yeah. It's kind of...
And this is what I worry about. I feel like you don't beat aggro, and you don't... I feel you don't beat warrior.
I mean, imagine how different this game would be if Ryvius was playing Frosty's list, for example, that runs 2 Bog Sloshes and 2 equal Brewmasters as well. Unrecognizable. You play the... I mean, at that point, yeah, you know, you're playing Barista, you bounce it, Barista bounce, Barista bounce, Barista bounce. You do the infinite stuff.
Unity, precision, perfection.
I don't think it's going to be a concede, but it's close. Because the problem is, as well, right now, there wasn't an extremely high value minion for Ryvius to Bog Slash. Unless...
You belong to the bog now.
all of this, Barrett, all of this game for Ryvius to lie his hopes on lackeys. Not a bad plan.
Doesn't seem especially likely to come through, but somewhat appropriate after all of the trouble the lackeys have caused over the expansions.
It's one series of Hearthstone longer than all the others combined, I feel already.
Honestly, not that far off.
Fatigue hitting in only in game, but potentially on the players themselves.
Right, now we're looking at Warpath Plague. Is that necessary?
Actual shield
Yeah, that's way better.
save plague for
Hero power as well. So nice and easy.
Gotta take the positives out of this game. We ain't seen Warrior for the rest of the series.
That's true. There's always a silver lining. And it's good for BloodTrail as well. You know, losing this game and going down 0-3 would have been another miserable start to Grandmasters.
It's my turn!
Again.
Can we go back? Can we?
Yeah,
can we go back to the tune
Get
sculptor?
a reversal on that one, please. Devolve. Remember that card?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we're devolving right now
Yeah.
before the audiences are.
We're actually just talking about very random things. I do apologize, but we are moving on to game number 3. Warriors are gone. I feel like we can just don't need to look at them anymore. if it was a deck on the end of the list, I would have torn it off. But unfortunately, it's in the middle, and I have neither the skill nor effort.
Nor the strength to
Nor
do
the
that.
strength to tear a piece of paper. We're going to see what these players are going to lock in. I actually kind of hope Ryvius plays a Shaman again.
Yeah, I want to see it go
I
up
want to
against an
see it
aggro deck.
tested more, just to see what's going on, and maybe learn. It's one of the benefits of being able to cast so much Hearthstone is also just to learn how players approach matchups and learn more about the game. Because I confess, I'm not as good as the pros, believe it or not. So it is also nice to just pick up a few things. And we just did get word that BloodTrail is going to be on the Holy Wrath Paladin.
Yeah.
It's going to be going up against Ryvius' Shaman, so I do get my wish. I get to see that matchup. Another matchup I confess I've not seen tons of, and honestly, not 100% sure how it can work out, because the problem with this matchup I foresee for at least BloodTrail is the Paladin cannot repeatedly clear boards in the same way that Warrior can.
Yeah.
So if Ryvius just spurts out minions onto the board, they get wiped, and then again, then it's way more likely that those minions do something the second time, right?
It is true. I think it is. I think it's a correct assumption to say that BloodTrail will not be able to clear the board every turn. I think the next logical step is to say he doesn't have to, because a lot of these boards that are being generated are not that scary a lot of the time.
Right.
There's only one former champ as the big meaty minion in the deck, and after you've dealt with the mutate to cheat out a big minion early on, a lot of the time you are just going to be looking at the fact that it's not that threatening. You can just heal up out of range with Kangor and Flash of Light. You have obviously the 2 timeouts as well, and then the 3 or 4 removal spells that you do have to sweep the board. I would say on average would be enough.
I honestly feel like this deck would and I'm sure it's been tested by everyone, but I feel like it would greatly benefit from either a Bloodlust, a Vicina, or even a Zephyrus. And there are people who've played like Highlander Shaman that have gone, really deep down that line. But honestly, I feel like just something that says to my opponent, yes, these are small, like kind of rubbish minions, but if I have it, you die. And just give some kind of threat. Vicina, even in itself, with this exact build, you might not overload enough for it.
Yeah.
But Vicina's like, 2/6 or whatever. Like, it's a pretty sturdy minion you can just plop down, and that's just a damage buff to the board as well. So I think you just need something that says this is not safe for you to just sit and watch these minions.
I mean, I'm right here with you, man. I'm going even further. I don't want to play Quest Shaman. I want to play Aggro Shaman with Thunderheads and Spirit of the Frogs, because then you've got the Vicina. You can play the token-based version with Spirit of the Murlocs, Soul of the Murlocs, and Vicina as well, and Bloodlust, which in my opinion is a very powerful deck. I don't know if it's maybe quite well suited in the metagame. I like this matchup against Mage a lot, which is why I was playing that deck a lot. But now, I don't know, I think it could have a space.
It definitely feels like an anti-aggro build here as well, because
for sure.
There's even the Defender of Argus, there's only the 1 Bog Slosher, there's a lot of early game, there's an Ooze in there as well, and only 1 Fallen Champ, so it's definitely lent towards anti-aggro, but I don't know, is that good enough in a meta where Druid and Warrior exist? And Paladin to a certain extent. Let's find out as we go into game number 3, the deciding game and last game for you guys here for the Asia Pacific region Grandmasters Week 2, Day 2. Game 3. Yeah, not quite as quick as I hoped. But anyway, we see BloodTrail's instant thought pattern on here of actually, I'm just going to play a minion because you do play minions, and I've got the time to be able to trade spot.
Yeah, he's like, you know what? If you play the Questing Adventurer, I'll take a straight up trade. That's not bad. If you play Evil Totem, good one. That is just going to get eaten up by the Wild Pyro instantly.
I'm not sure if this is similar to Ball Control's list, but I believe that they both, Ball Control and BloodTrail, are running High Priest the Call. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure about the suit vendor for Ball Control, but I know a lot of people aren't running High Priest the Call as well, so it feels like it's a middle-of-the-line kind of choice.
Yeah, I know that when I was in Seoul with Hunter Ace, before we were going out for dinner the final night, obviously, he was jamming Hearthstone when we were hanging out in my
I don't
hotel
think
room.
I've ever seen BloodTrail not play Hearthstone.
Exactly, yeah. And when he was playing that, he was playing the Holy Wrath Paladin. And he was a big fan of Thekol. He thought that was the key spicy tech in his deck list there.
I think it's a very good card. And especially not only is it a strong effect, but on 3. Like, it's sick.
Right.
A 3-mana 3/4 is a good card, guys. That's pretty solid right now.
It would fit BloodTrail's playstyle of just curving out here. Curving out, spending all his mana up to a point where he doesn't want to play into mind control tech.
I like it. Why not?
Yeah.
Well, why give Ryvius a good play?
He's never going to be vulnerable to mind control tech for the rest of the game. And in all likelihood, his board dies to a Sandstorm Elemental anyway. I think I like it.
Yep. Ryvius, very quick quest completion.
Both players, I mean, just playing fast overall.
So now, you know, the first few tests are going to be coming out for BloodTrail soon, where Ryvius can go former champion mutate. And BloodTrail's going to have to respond.
I like the play of Consecration there from BloodTrail. He still has the backup of a big board swing should he need so with Pyro Equality, and saving the Flash of Light as well to go for Vendor Flash of Light. Like, BloodTrail's playing lightning fast, but I'm agreeing with pretty much everything I'm seeing.
Yeah, a lot of value here from the Ethereal Lackeys, and I was going to bring up, but obviously you were making a good point about former champ. It could be played this turn as refill after the conk, but Ryvius could also hold it to get extreme value from the hero power, and I think that's my question for this matchup is how much value do you go versus aggression? Because you can't go too slow versus Paladin because you will die.
And I think it's very reasonable for him to hold on for a turn because it's not like it's pure greed. It's still good tempo. Yeah. Like going for an X turn, you just get an extra 5/5, which forces a removal with 1 card.
What I think was reasonable was he drew a card that made him have a turn. If it was pass or play, I would play.
I agree.
But now, this is what I'm talking about. Bloodlust Wind Fury made that Ethereal Lackey hit
This is
8.
a lot of surprise damage, actually. And I wonder how we'll see Ryvius set up this turn here, because we could see Coin Giggling Mutate, which would allow for, you know, a nice wide board set up for a strong Bloodlust next turn.
This just sets up lethal, right?
Yeah, this seems good. It still sets up a wide board. And pretty much demands an answer.
Yeah, it's almost lethal.
So it'll be 8, 16, 24, 28, I think.
Oh, wait, is it 29?
Don't think so.
Well, he's going to 8, but he can, he can use
Goblin
Goblin
Lackey.
Lackey. It's 29.
Oh, so that's 30 because you buff the Wind Fury one as well.
Oh, right, yeah.
So this is potentially exactly 30 damage.
But the 1/1's going to die.
Yes. Boom. So if he mutated that, it's an interesting balance, right? Because he didn't go for the mutate because he wants to be...
He wants refill.
He wants refill, exactly. He doesn't want to overextend into a board clear. And so next turn, if he was to go Giggling Mutate, would be a pretty strong way to fill up the board. But
Let me think.
could have maybe cheesed out a win there, which would have been pretty sick.
I guess the problem as well is, though, even without the 1/4 trading with, say, a true silver champion that we can see, you know, there's a lot of ways this gets played, so I don't mind. But now, 2 Consecrates and the Pyro are gone. Like,
Just funny.
oh, the lull!
Just funny.
Yeah.
My shield for Argon.
Ryvius now just, I think, trying to set up for that situation where
Have to trade.
every board is threatening, but not threatening enough to demand a removal, but still kills with Bloodlust Wind Fury.
And obviously, Bloodlust and Wind Fury, and of course this was discovered, blah blah blah. But already, I just feel better about the deck when there's just a Bloodlust there.
This is like a lot of damage already. How much is that?
6
7, 8, 16, 5. This is 21 damage. This is,
And
I
it's only
think,
gonna
just
get
1
worse.
damage or 1 mana of lethal.
So Derek, I told you I wanted a Bloodlust in the deck. Tyrion,
This
the
is
betrayal. Top 10 greatest anime betrayal. As Tyrion goes against Uther
Nice Divine Shield, bruh.
in the ultimate fight. He's just dead.
He's just dead.
He needs to time
Well,
out.
yeah, he's got time.
But is he going to?
Something doesn't smell right here. I can give you a blood trail.
Reporting for duty.
This is, I think, an easy timeout.
But
But he can go for Ancestral Spirit on the Tyrion.
Yeah. He's got a life drinker now for even more damage. Not that he can play all together, of course.
Yeah.
But it just helps him push within that sort of danger zone.
And BloodTrail is well and truly in the danger zone.
He's in the dead zone soon. Because... Oh, don't you play that Wind Fury. You wait. He's actually playing the life drinker with the hero power.
Yeah, that's true.
Wait, it still heals? Oh yeah,
Yeah, it still
it's
heals.
It's not lifesteal, is it?
Yeah. I mean, I assume he was doing it just
This is the swag skills, yeah.
I'm kind of surprised that he did go all in like that when he has such powerful combos. Because now we're looking at a full board.
Like to play with fire?
And I don't really know.
Well, yeah. What was he being too?
Well, the thing is, if Ryvius is saying here, I expect there to not be a board click because he winced when it came down. But he was winning by miles if there wasn't a board click without all this nonsense with the life drinker. Because he had Bloodlust. He was a million damage.
Does he still kill him?
No, he doesn't have.
Oh,
he doesn't have
wait.
Wind Fury anymore.
I hope you like my
That's 9.
Wait,
14
when
damage.
and wait, did I blink? When and where did he play Wind Fury?
He played it on the Tyrion to clear up the board. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, life drinker shenanigans, whatever. I think he should have held the Wind Fury.
Oh, is this lethal now? 8? No, not quite. It's getting close.
I mean, he still has Bloodlust and an Ashbringer and then another Ashbringer.
It's
so
pretty much demanding a timeout every turn.
the problem is, wait,
Or a cheese win.
Oh, that's not a bad card. He can still do it, right?
What?
We can draw 2 cards and still play Chevaler, Shuffle, Holy Wrath. But it doesn't get him the 25 is the problem. But does he do it anyway?
I don't know. It's getting very complicated.
Because he
very
can still
quickly.
time out and try it again the turn
Well,
after.
he can go for... Like, can't he just wait a turn before he does it? Like, he can just go for timeout and then draw. And then go off with
But then he
Chevaler
doesn't have the
next turn.
mana. I think he does it now. Because also...
What does he do? He goes Chevaler, Banker, Holy Wrath.
It's time to transform metal.
And then he draws. And tries to... Does he try and crystal, prismatic lens the other Holy Wrath to make it cheap? It's doable with the banker again.
Oh!
Nailed it.
Oh! He hit it!
Reporting for duty.
So if he now top decks the second
Holy Wrath.
he can just go for the win.
Oh, excuse me. That's a joke. This is... Oh, if only I had the life drinker. Oh, that wouldn't matter with Holy Wrath, of course. This is difficult because we can't see what BloodTrail's got left in his deck, and he can.
Right.
So his decisions will be heavily impacted by exactly what's left in his deck.
It's
So we
very-
almost have to just watch this play out, to be honest, guys.
It's very difficult
Yeah.
casting.
I hope you like my invention.
Well, in decks like this, especially.
Yes, exactly. Holy Wrath Paladin is very, very difficult to do so. Especially as now Ryvius is trying very, very hard to not heal his opponent at all, if possible, which I don't think is possible anymore. He has to soak at least 5 damage into the...
Doesn't have to worry too much. He's got a million damage as long as the board doesn't get wiped.
But the board might get wiped is the problem. There's
But by
still
what?
Little time.
He's seen 2 Pyros, 2 Consecrates, and Equality.
Right.
There's 1 Equality.
Yeah, so I guess it's just
There's nothing.
Shrink Ray, but Shrink Ray still leaves the damage.
Yeah, and then Bloodlust.
Yeah, okay.
This is literally either BloodTrail wins next turn or Ryvius wins next turn. And honestly, I don't know if Ryvius... Did Ryvius need to win Fury? I feel like I just blinked and missed him do it. Crystology, again, relevant of what's in hand. So he's going to draw Holy... Oh, drew Hammer.
There's no minions left, so it just draws a card.
So, no, is it other Crystology Hammer?
It's time to test your metal.
So So he has to shuffle in again
Yeah.
and hope he draws the Holy Wrath to then Holy Wrath into Shivala.
And hope he's not dead.
Yeah, which there he is. Whoa, sigh of relief there from Ryvius.
Oh, such a crazy game.
He's got it. Like I said, honestly, I'm going to go back after the show and just watch that turn because I don't know if there was ever a need to Wind Fury. I didn't really even notice it.
Cheesed out early.
Yeah. Because if he had Wind Fury the turn after, he would have been okay, right? He would have just won. So crazy last game there of the series, and again the matches just keep coming in terms of crazy. And just awesome, I think, actually. So the meta's kind of doing its job for now, I think, and the format is as well. Getting to see a lot of cool decks interact with each other across many different matchups. But Ryvius takes the win. Gave me a bit of a heart attack towards the end there. I thought anything could have happened, but it did end with Ryvius winning overall. But another mad day, Derek.
I'm loving it. I'm glad that we're seeing not only new decks perform really well, I'm glad we're seeing new decks fail, because I think this is the mark of a really good metagame, where players do not know what is necessarily the best. Because, you know, even in the very solved metagames, you still sometimes see one player come along and demolish with a new lineup. This just kind of feels like the Wild West, where a lot of players are trying to find anything that works for them.
And you'll know, so a part of at least what I do for my job casting is if I see a deck that a player I respect has done well with, I play it.
You play the most random garbage.
And I tell, like, Derek pretty much every single day,
morning,
try this deck, try this deck,
deck,
try this deck, try this deck. Today I was playing Diz Demon's Secret Mage, which is completely different to anything we've seen so far. And he got top 100 with it, and Diz Demon's a good player. He's very well respected. So who knows what we're going to see next week. But for now, let's check out the standings of what happened, what the outcome was of today. Tom looking great at 4-0 in Division B. And also, you know, Chonsu having a much better start to the season. Ryvius having a nice, you know, taking that one step to go 3-1 and secure himself in the top 4, at least for week 1 so far.
Yeah, and then down right at the bottom, it's going to be fighting to just not go 0-4 in Season 2 of Grandmasters for Surrender, BloodTrail, Patra, and Blitzchung. All of those players will, of course, be playing tomorrow to find out what their score will be and whether they have a chance of even coming back. Because when you're down 0-2, that's okay. Rough start, it happens. But if you're down 0-4, the chance of getting through to the top 4 to go to finals is starting to look slim already.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. There's 2 matches a week, and there's effectively 5 more weeks until decisions are made, and then playoffs is the 8th week of Grandmasters. Let's check out tomorrow's schedule, though, just to see who is going to be playing who, because one of the problems is, yeah, I thought so, Blitzchung is playing Patra, which means one of them's going 0-4 tomorrow, and that is going to feel bad.
That does not feel good. I would not like to be either of those two
that's
players.
what happens. You play everyone, so it means that you're going to be playing other people that are next to you on the table at some point.
Alex Timber and Glory, the fight towards the middle and to the top for Glory has had a very, very strong season so far. And then Surrender and Tyler. Surrender also just struggling to get that first win on the table. And up against Tyler, you know, he was looking a little bit uncertain today, so maybe Surrender's higher level of practice will be able to see him through. But overall, Tyler's deck list just looked pretty good.
Yeah, and then we have Samo Zhao versus BloodTrail, so just being able to make some waves there with some cool decks between those two. But then we have Shaxi versus Flurry, which is going to be a great end to the weekend for me at least, because they're 2 very strong players from last season, and also 2 players that are looking, at least to me, pretty good, because although, you know, Shaxi took a loss, I think he was still looking strong.
Yeah, I agree. I like the slightly different way he's going with his deck list. Obviously, the Battle Cry Quest Shaman has not functioned all too well today, but I think, you know, that final bit we saw from their Ryvius, where he was just able to scrape out a win in the end and lost to Warrior, I think that's a fair representation, but it's a better deck than that would highlight. I think Europe is quite close to the mark where they are touting it as one of the best decks in the format at the moment. And I think while that may not currently be the case, when the final iteration of the deck is found and the best version is discovered, then I think we'll be a lot closer.
Yeah, the fact for me that you can put almost any card in the deck and it has a level of impact means that it's tough, but when you get it really right, it might be insane. Yeah. So I look forward to the day all the time when that happens. But for now, we are done for the day. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll be back tomorrow for Sunday and those matches we just previewed for you there. But for now, hang around a little bit. There's going to be Subtle and Admirable coming up for Europe, and then Frodan TJ, as usual, bringing you the Americas coverage. But from us, we are done, so we will see you tomorrow. Have a good day.